Daniel Harper trusted routine more than memory. Memory could bend. Routine didn't argue. Every night followed the same pattern: keys on the hook, phone face down, alarm set, lights off. Every morning, the same coffee, the same walk, the same elevator mirror where he checked if he looked like someone who belonged in the day. So when someone thanked him for something he hadn't done, it should have been forgettable. It wasn't. "Thanks again for covering my shift last Friday," his coworker said casually, not even looking up. Daniel paused mid-sip. "I wasn't here Friday." The coworker frowned, scrolling through his phone. "You were. You stayed late too." There was no accusation in his voice. Just certainty. Daniel forced a smile and moved on, but something lodged itself behind his ribs, small, sharp, unfinished. Later that day, his neighbor nodded at him in the hallway. "You look healthier," she said. "Whatever you quit, keep quitting it." Daniel stopped walking. "I think you've got me mixed up with someone else." She hesitated, then laughed lightly. "Yeah, maybe." But she didn't look convinced. That night, a message waited on his phone. From his sister. "Proud of you for finally apologizing to Mom." Daniel reread it 5 times. He hadn't apologized. He hadn't called. He hadn't even known what to say. He typed back. "Apologizing for what?" No reply came. Scrolling through old photos, Daniel found one that didn't belong. Him. In a bar. A drink in his hand. The date stamped beneath it made his stomach turn. He remembered that weekend clearly. A hotel room. Conference badge. Room service. Not this. The comments beneath the photo were worse. "I'm glad you finally admitted it. Didn't think you'd come back. You scared us that night." Daniel shut the phone off. For the first time, a question surfaced that didn't feel hypothetical. What if the mistake wasn't theirs? Daniel stopped correcting people. Correction unsettled them. Acceptance relaxed them. And relaxed people told the truth. At the cafe near his office, the barista lowered her voice. "Decoff today?" she asked gently. "Or are we still staying clean?" Daniel felt his chest tighten. "I don't drink." She studied him for a moment too long. "Right," she said softly. "Of course." Her smile carried relief. The kind reserved for someone fragile. The man sat beside him without asking. "You said I could call if things got bad," the man said quietly. Daniel stared straight ahead. "I think you've mistaken me for someone else." The man's jaw tightened. "You promised you wouldn't disappear again." The bus stopped. The man stood, paused, and added, "I hope this version of you lasts." That night, Daniel searched his email. Deep in the archive were threads he didn't remember writing. Long apologies. Carefully worded accountability. Then silence. One email ended with, "I don't trust myself anymore, but I want to be better." Daniel felt like he was reading a confession written by a stranger who shared his name. The address came from one of those emails. The woman who opened the door looked prepared. "You said if you came back, it meant you were ready," she said. "I've never been here," Daniel replied. She didn't argue. "No," she said quietly. "You've just been gone." Inside, photos lined the wall. Him, but sharper. More intense. More dangerous. "You hurt people," she said. "But you admitted it. That's why we stayed." Daniel whispered, "I don't remember any of this." For the first time, fear crossed her face. "Then who do you think you've been pretending to be?" Daniel began living inside consequences without crimes. An email from HR welcomed him back, again. It praised growth. Mentioned past concerns. Outlined expectations. No details. Just conditions. His manager said, "You're doing well this time." "This time?" Daniel asked. She smiled carefully. "You know what I mean." Family history rewritten. His sister finally called. "You really don't remember saying it," she said. "Saying what?" "That you used Mom's illness to control us." Daniel closed his eyes. Avoidance, yes. Fear, yes. Manipulation? That sounded like intent. Hidden in a shared drive was a folder. Behavioral volatility. Emotional manipulation. Improved accountability. Resolved. Daniel stared at the word. Resolved by whom? Old medical records told him more than people ever had. Patient experiences dissociation tied to guilt. Reports feeling safer when not fully himself. Goal, integration, not erasure. Daniel remembered sitting in his car once, hands shaking, saying aloud, "I can't be this person anymore." Then nothing. A clean break. Forgetting wasn't failure. It was strategy. A version of him had stepped forward to absorb blame, then stepped aside, leaving Daniel to live as someone less harmful. The package arrived without warning. Inside, a flash drive. Inside that, proof. Daniel watched himself on screen. "I'm doing this so you can exist," the man said. "You don't hurt people the way I do." Rules followed. No alcohol. No control games. No reopening the past. One line was underlined. Never try to remember everything. Page after page explained the choice. Not madness. Not escape. Containment. "They found the files," she said. "What files?" Her voice softened. "Oh, you're the safer one." Daniel asked the question that mattered. "What did I do?" She answered honestly. "Nothing illegal. Just unforgettable." Daniel did not sleep the night after watching the video. He sat on the edge of his bed, the flash drive resting in his open palm like something fragile and dangerous at the same time. Outside, the city moved the way it always had, cars passing, lights flickering, people unaware that a man was deciding whether he deserved to be whole. The journal ended with a question written in thicker ink than the rest. "If you remember everything, you will also remember why you chose to forget." Daniel closed the file. Memory, he realized, was not a gift. It was a responsibility. He began listing names. His sister, who sounded calmer now. His coworkers, who trusted him again. The woman across town, who had learned how to breathe without waiting for his apologies. The version of him who disappeared had taken the weight. Daniel had taken the relief. Daniel booked an emergency therapy session. The therapist studied him quietly. "You're afraid that remembering will change how you behave," she said. Daniel shook his head. "I'm afraid it won't," he replied. She nodded. "That's the real fear," she said. "Integration doesn't guarantee redemption. It just removes excuses." Later that day, Daniel found another message. From an unknown number. "You said you'd come back and finish this." No accusation. No threat. Just expectation. Daniel stared at the screen until something inside him loosened. That night, Daniel did what the journal warned him never to do. He sat in the dark, closed his eyes, and stopped resisting the memory. It wasn't one event. It was patterns. Control disguised as care. Truth bent to avoid abandonment. Apologies that came only after damage. He remembered being right, and still wrong. He remembered choosing to disappear not because he was broken, but because he was effective at hurting people. In his mind, the other version spoke. Not angrily. Tired. "I kept us from becoming worse," the voice said. "I carried what you couldn't," Daniel whispered. "You didn't give me a choice. You would have chosen comfort," the voice replied. "I chose containment." Daniel understood then. Integration wasn't combining two halves into something stronger. It was living with full awareness of what he was capable of, and choosing differently without forgetting why. Daniel went to the address from the message. A small office. A file waiting on the table. "You told us you'd take responsibility," the man across from him said. Daniel nodded. "I'm not asking for forgiveness," he replied. "I'm asking for transparency." They exchanged documents. Nothing criminal. Everything personal. Reputations. Trust. Emotional damage. The cost of being charming when unwell. Daniel wrote apologies that were shorter than before. No explanations. No justifications. Some were accepted. Some weren't. This time, he didn't disappear. Weeks later, Daniel stood in his apartment, keys in hand. For the first time, he didn't feel divided. Just accountable. People still remembered him wrong sometimes. But now, when they did, he listened. Because the version they remembered wasn't a ghost. It was a warning. Daniel placed the flash drive in a drawer and locked it. Not to erase it, but to remember where it was. Because becoming whole didn't mean becoming safe. It meant becoming honest. And choosing every day not to be the person he once needed to forget.